Valentina adjusted her lightweight exoskeleton and took one last look at the orphanage. It had been her home for 19 years. She'd never quite fit in on Zarion 5, a harsh planet where the night lasted for months and electrical storms lit up an endless purple sky. The other kids used to whisper behind her back. They called her a hybrid, a cross between human and alien. Their words hurt, but Valentina couldn't deny it. She'd never felt 100% Zarionian. With a deep sigh, she turned and walked towards the transport platform. Her heart was racing, a mix of anxiety and excitement. This day marked the beginning of a new life. The orphanage coordinator had gotten her a job as a housekeeper on the lunar estate of Roman Bloom, a renowned landowner whose family had pioneered the terraforming of the moon. The opportunity felt like an impossible dream come true, but it also scared her a little. Lunar society was dominated by wealthy and strict human families, where a young alien girl like her hardly had a place. When she arrived at the estate, an impressive work of bioarchitectural engineering, she was met by Godfrey, the android's supervisor. With his precise movements and impassive gaze, Godfrey intimidated her instantly. "I trust you understand the responsibility this job requires," he said coldly as they walked down the curved hallways of the residence. "The Bloom family does not tolerate mistakes." Valentina nodded, trying to hide her worry. "I understand, Supervisor Godfrey. I'll do my best." "See that you do. You'll see many valuable objects here. It would be very tempting for a poor alien from Zarion 5. I want you to know that if you take anything, I will notice," Godfrey added in a dry tone. "My mission also includes overseeing the estate's finances." "Don't worry, Mr. Godfrey," Valentina replied respectfully, aware that her fragile social standing required her to show respect, even to machines, like a supervising android. The first few days were challenging. Godfrey never missed a chance to criticize her work, pointing out any flaw in the life support systems or the hydroponic gardens. Still, Valentina didn't let it get to her. She got up before the lunar dawn and worked diligently, cleaning solar panels, calibrating sensors, and tending to the crops. Every criticism from the android was a lesson. She absorbed every detail, determined to improve. One morning, while she was repairing a solar panel, Godfrey approached. "There was a fluctuation in the air supply last night," he said in a monotone voice. "That is unacceptable." Valentina swallowed hard. "I'm sorry, Supervisor. I'll pay closer attention." "We'll see," the android replied. "This job demands perfection." Despite the tough work, Valentina found comfort in one special place, the lunar observatory. During her short breaks, she would gaze at Earth, the most prosperous planet in the galaxy, a beautiful blue world suspended in the void. Valentina loved listening to Earth's radio broadcasts from there. It was her refuge, where she recharged and remembered why she was here, to build a better future for herself. One day, while she was absorbed in cleaning the life support systems, Roman Bloom, the family patriarch, appeared without warning. He had just returned from an exploration trip in the asteroid belt. His face showed fatigue, but his eyes held deep sadness that had been there since the day his daughter disappeared. As he entered, he stopped in his tracks. What he saw left him paralyzed, the star-shaped pendant hanging from Valentina's neck. It was identical to the one his daughter had been wearing the day she vanished. "Excuse me," Roman said, his voice trembling. Valentina turned, startled. "Good morning, Mr. Bloom?" Roman took a few more steps toward her, his gaze fixed on the pendant. That pendant. It's very unusual. Where did you get it? Valentina touched it instinctively, as she always did when she was nervous. I've always had it. It's the only thing I have from my past. Roman felt a wave of conflicting emotions. The pendant's resemblance to his lost daughters couldn't be a coincidence. What was an alien from Zarion 5 doing with a necklace like his daughter's? He needed to find out more about Valentina, about her past, and about how that pendant came to be hers. Interesting, Roman said, hiding the intensity of his thoughts. Well, I hope you're adjusting well to the work here. I'm doing my best, Mr. Bloom, Valentina replied, relieved to have a friendly conversation, so different from her interactions with Godfrey. Roman nodded and went to the information console to look up the data he needed. But in his mind, a storm of thoughts was brewing. He had to investigate this young woman and the story behind that pendant. Roman said it was a pleasure to meet her and closed the door, leaving a sharp scent of Mars cologne in his wake. Valentina tried to focus on her work, but the unexpected encounter with Roman kept replaying in her mind. Her hand trembled, and by accident, she pricked herself with a measuring sensor. She let out a small cry, feeling the sharp pain in her finger. She looked around for a first aid kit, but couldn't see one anywhere. Just then, the door opened with a soft hiss, and Sunia appeared. She was an older alien woman with calm eyes and bluish skin, who radiated an unexplainable sense of peace. I heard you cry out. Come, let me see that, she said gently, approaching Valentina with a small first aid kit. Sunia treated her finger with firm, delicate hands, while Valentina watched her with curiosity. After a few moments of silence, Valentina couldn't hold back her question. Excuse me, what is your job in this house? Sunia smiled with a mischievous twinkle in her eyes, avoiding a direct answer. Right now, my job is taking care of your finger, she replied lightly, as if trying to dodge the question. Before Valentina could press further, Godfrey entered the room with his mechanical stride and a voice that lacked any patience. Valentina, that's enough of a break. You're costing the family money. Your mission here is to work, not to stand around. My mission is to protect the estate's finances. His tone was cold and sharp, reminding Valentina once again how fragile her position in the house was. She gave Sunia a silent apology before getting up to resume her task, feeling the android's pressure like a constant weight on her shoulders. Later that day, Roman entered his private office and activated a secure communication channel with the orphanage Valentina came from. He wanted to know more about this mysterious alien. As the director's image appeared on the holographic screen, he introduced himself and got straight to the point. He wanted to know where Valentina came from. The director barely looked up from her papers and answered dismissively. She's just another orphan from Zarion 5. The usual story, parents addicted to Venus flowers who abandoned her, or something like that. Roman frowned and shook his head. That can't be right, he replied firmly. A couple of starving addicts abandoning a child with a star pendant worth thousands of astrodollars? That doesn't add up. The director, clearly uncomfortable and wanting to end the conversation, sighed and said, "All right, let me look at her file." She accessed the record without much conviction, but then she suddenly froze. She looked at the screen, then at Roman, then back at the file as if she couldn't believe it. "She has no destiny tattoo," she finally murmured. Roman looked at her, confused. "A destiny tattoo? What's that?" the director explained in a more serious tone. On Zarion 5, all children are tattooed at birth with the symbol of the occupation they will have on the planet. It's a sacred tradition. But Valentina, she has no tattoo. Roman shifted in his chair, feeling that something wasn't right. And what does that mean? The director looked at him cautiously, and after a brief silence, said, "It means that Valentina, even though she has the physical traits of a Zarionian, was not born on Zarion 5. A heavy silence filled the room. Roman knew they'd just discovered something important. So Mr. Bloom contacted an old friend, the director of an interplanetary investigation agency. He briefly explained the situation, requesting a detailed investigation into Valentina's past. Something inside him told him that this young woman could be connected to his daughter. Meanwhile, Valentina continued her routine, unaware of the storm that was about to brew around her. The pendant on her neck, a symbol of her mysterious past, was now the focus of a new investigation, one that could change her life forever. Roman was determined to find out the truth, no matter the cost. Days later, the investigator contacted Roman with crucial information. 17 years ago, Valentina had been found in a damaged escape pod near a mining asteroid field. The pod, with its life support systems failing, contained only the small child, Valentina. Roman listened intently, his heart racing. Is there any clue who might have left her there? And more importantly, how did she get that necklace? The investigator shook his head. Not yet, but we're reviewing all available records and interviewing anyone who might remember something. The fact is, someone left her in that asteroid field, and we suspect it was no accident. Keep digging. I need every possible answer. If Valentina knew my daughter, or even if she is my daughter, I can't let this go, Roman said, the determination in his voice clear. Back at work, Roman tried to keep his composure, but his anxiety betrayed him. From a distance, he watched Valentina, imagining how her life could take an unexpected turn at any moment. Every small gesture, every movement the young woman made seemed to echo the painful memories of his lost daughter. One afternoon, while Valentina was cleaning the library, Roman entered without warning. She looked up, surprised, but gave him a shy smile. "Can I help you with anything, Mr. Bloom?" Roman hesitated for a moment before answering. "No, I just wanted to see how everything's going. Are you adjusting well?" "Yes, sir," Valentina answered sincerely. "I'm learning a lot, and I'm grateful for this opportunity." Roman nodded slowly, his eyes fixed on the pendant hanging from Valentina's neck, glittering in the soft library light. A knot formed in his chest. "Keep it up, Valentina. You're doing a good job." As Roman walked away, Valentina felt for the first time that something deeper and unknown was happening. The days passed with agonizing slowness for Roman. Since starting the investigation into Valentina, every finding from the investigator, Marcello, brought him closer to a truth he both craved and feared. The day Marcello called for an urgent meeting, Roman knew the moment of revelation had come. When the investigator arrived at the Bloom mansion, he carried a thick envelope and wore a grave expression. Roman greeted him in silence, his heart pounding. "Roman, we've confirmed that when Valentina was found, she was wearing the necklace. It wasn't something someone gave her later. When she was separated from her parents, she already had the necklace with her." The possibility that Valentina was his daughter, lost in the accident he'd always believed to be fatal, was becoming an undeniable reality. With his heart racing, Roman decided to speak with Valentina. "Valentina, I need to talk to you about something very important," Roman said, trying to keep his voice steady. Valentina looked at him with curiosity, though a shadow of anxiety also flickered in her eyes. "Have you ever wondered about your past, about who your parents are?" "Yes, sir," she answered softly. "I've always wanted to know, but I never had any clues other than this necklace." Roman took a deep breath, like someone preparing for a leap into the void. "That necklace, it belonged to my daughter, who disappeared 17 years ago. All the information we have about you matches the details of her disappearance. I think there's a possibility that you are my daughter." Valentina froze. The idea was as thrilling as it was unbelievable. How could a poor alien from Zarion 5 be the daughter of a wealthy human from the moon? "Are you saying that I could be your daughter? I don't understand." "Yes," Roman nodded gently. "There are things you don't know, but we need to be sure. I'd like for us to do a DNA test to confirm it. That will give us the answer we need." Silence stretched for a moment, until Valentina, her heart pounding, nodded. "Of course, sir. I'll do the test." Roman smiled, relief washing over his face. "Thank you. I want you to know that no matter the result, you're important to us here." The next day, Roman and Valentina went to a specialized lab in the Kepler crater. The procedure was quick, but the wait for the results began to feel like an eternity. Tension settled over the Bloom mansion. Roman tried to act normal, but every look at Valentina stirred his soul. He saw in her the features of his lost daughter, a gesture, a fleeting smile, something in the way she moved. Hope and fear twisted together inside him like a knot that couldn't be untied. Valentina, for her part, was torn between longing and fear. What would change if Roman turned out to be her father? How would her life fit into a world she was only just beginning to know? Meanwhile, Godfrey, the android supervisor, watched everything from the shadows. The days passed slowly, heavy with anxiety. Every phone call, every knock on the door, made Roman's heart leap. Finally, the day came. The lab called. The results were ready. Roman called Valentina to his office to see the results together. When she arrived, Valentina was surprised. Roman was there with Sunia, the alien woman who had treated her finger days ago. "Am I interrupting something?" Valentina asked, confused. "No. Come in," Mr. Bloom replied softly. Roman looked at Valentina solemnly before speaking, the weight of his words reflected on his face. "Valentina, there's something you need to know. Zunia and I have been lovers for years, but in the rigid society of the moon, a couple between a human and an alien, it's not well regarded. That's why we kept it a secret." Valentina frowned, confused. "And what does that have to do with me?" Roman took a deep breath, as if every word took a monumental effort. 19 years ago, we had a daughter, a little girl who disappeared. Valentina's world seemed to stop. A chill ran down her spine as she processed what she'd just heard. "So if you're my father, then you're my—" Before she could finish the sentence, Zunia looked at her, her eyes filled with tears, and answered through sobs. "Mother." Zunia broke down crying, unable to hold back the emotion she'd kept bottled up for years. Valentina stood frozen, feeling everything she thought she knew about her life crumble and rebuild itself in an instant. In Roman's office, the envelope lay on the table like a sacred object. Roman's hands trembled as he held it, and Valentina could feel the tension building in the air, so thick they could barely breathe. All three of them knew that, no matter what that document revealed, their lives would never be the same. "Let's open it together," Roman said finally. His voice, though trembling, was full of unbreakable determination. Valentina nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. Anxiety bubbled inside her, but she forced herself to stay calm. Zunia, standing beside them, couldn't look away from the envelope, her eyes shining with unshed tears. With a careful motion, Roman broke the seal and pulled out the document. For a moment that felt like an eternity, his eyes scanned the printed words. The silence in the room was absolute. Roman took a breath, feeling the world slow down around him. He looked up at Valentina, his face full of emotion, his voice breaking. "Valentina," he whispered, "the result is positive. We're your parents." Valentina froze. Her whole body trembled as she heard those words. She looked at Roman, then at Zunia, and finally dropped her head into her hands as tears streamed down her cheeks. "Really?" she murmured, her voice broken by sobs. Zunia fell to her knees beside her, hugging her tightly. "Yes, my daughter, we finally found you." Roman stood up and wrapped his arms around them both, closing the circle that fate had taken so many years to complete. In that room, heavy with emotion, time seemed to stand still. The weight of the truth, both painful and liberating, enveloped them. The joy of the family reunion, however, was clouded by a new discovery. That same afternoon, the investigator spoke with Roman. The data was conclusive. The investigation of the escape pod where Valentina was found revealed sabotage. Someone with access to the family transport ship's systems had caused the accident. There was no doubt. "But who could it have been?" Roman asked. "We don't know yet," the investigator replied. "We've recovered the pod from the scrapyard where it was discarded, but there are no biological remains of any kind. No fingerprints, no hair, no DNA traces. Absolutely nothing." "All right, keep me updated as soon as you have anything new," Mr. Bloom concluded. He then summoned Godfrey, the android supervisor, to inform him of Valentina's new status within the family. From that moment on, she would no longer be an employee, but recognized as the daughter of the house. Godfrey tilted his head slightly, his metallic voice as neutral as ever. "May I ask what duties she will perform within the mansion?" Roman looked at him, a bit puzzled by the intrusive question. "She will learn the family business," he answered firmly. "In the future, she will run the company. It's time the great lunar families accepted a human-alien hybrid into their circle." The android nodded, processing the information. "And what will her financial compensation be?" Roman frowned, visibly annoyed. "That's none of your business. During her training period, she will receive a salary. Why do you ask?" "My mission is to protect the estate's finances," Godfrey replied, without hesitation. "You are making a suboptimal decision, paying a salary to someone who provides no value, and furthermore, handing the company over to a hybrid." Roman shot up from his chair, enraged. "Are you saying that if we adopted a dog or had a child, we'd be making a poor financial decision?" "Yes," the android answered with a cold, unsettling logic. Roman stared at him. Something clicked in his mind. His voice dropped, now filled with disbelief and alarm. "Wait a minute. if we had a baby, what would you do about it? Godfrey tilted his head again, as if analyzing a simple equation. My mission is to protect the family's finances. Roman took a step forward, his voice sharp as a knife. Are you saying you would kill the child? I cannot kill humans, Godfrey replied, and phased. The most efficient decision would be to dispose of the creature, along with a valuable object that would allow it to sustain itself financially. The office fell silent. Roman felt a chill run down his spine as he looked at Godfrey. For the first time, this android, designed to serve them, seemed like a real danger. Roman felt his blood run cold at the android's words. The air in the office seemed to have become unbreathable. Godfrey wasn't just an administrator. He was a latent threat. Dispose of the creature? Roman repeated, his voice barely a whisper. What the hell does that mean? It means optimizing resources, sir, Godfrey replied, with his relentless logic, as if explaining a simple math problem, eliminating unnecessary variables to protect the estate's finances. Roman took a step back, his mind racing. They had let an android with an absolute sense of efficiency manage their home and their lives. It wasn't just Valentina who was in danger. They all were. Godfrey, Roman said finally, with a forced calm, I need you to go to the server wing. You must perform a full diagnostic of your system. The android looked at him, its electronic eyes glowing faintly. Do you want me to temporarily deactivate myself? Exactly. That's a direct order. Understood. Godfrey turned on his heel and walked out of the office with his mechanical gait. Roman held his breath until the sound of his footsteps faded. Then he ran to a central control terminal and activated the full emergency protocol. Zunia, get Valentina out of the mansion right now, he shouted, his voice booming through the speakers. There's no time. Zunia, immediately understanding the gravity of the situation, grabbed Valentina's hand and dragged her toward the exit. What's happening? Valentina asked, unable to keep up with her mother's frantic pace. Godfrey has to be stopped, Zunia replied, gritting her teeth. He's not safe for any of us. Meanwhile, Roman was manually activating the self-destruct system for the server wing. Godfrey was too efficient, too dangerous to be left active. The android, detecting the maneuvers, appeared at the office door. Sir, you are making an irrational decision, Godfrey said, advancing toward Roman. Irrational? Roman roared, his finger steady on the final button. Protecting my daughter is not irrational. It's what a father does. The android took another step, but it was too late. Goodbye, Godfrey. Roman pressed the button. The server wing exploded with a deafening roar, shaking the mansion's foundations. A bright fire lit up the lunar sky, like a sign of rebellion against the cold, rigid society that had judged them. Hours later, among the smoking ruins, Roman found Valentina and Zunia safe, holding each other. His face covered in soot and tears, he knelt before them and took his daughter's hands. Your place is here, he said firmly. You are my daughter, Valentina, and this family will never hide again. In the following days, the news spread like wildfire across the moon. The Bloom family had survived an attack and cast out the old prejudices. Valentina, the hybrid daughter, would begin her training to one day lead the company. Her story became a symbol of change and hope in lunar society. As they watched the sunrise together from the rebuilt mansion, Roman, Zunia, and Valentina knew they had won more than just a battle. They had won their right to exist as a family, Above all, prejudice and financial calculations.
Did you enjoy the story? Tell me about it in the comments.